AskReddit by Kai 6180. People who don't reply until days later, why? The comments on this one should be empty until a couple of days from now. The thread is 2 hours old and has 1,200 comments. Clearly not the target audience. Sometimes I just truly don't know what to reply to you. Especially if it's just the word hi. Responding just feels like it could be a Pandora's box that I don't know if I want to open. Some days I don't feel like talking to people. Definitely. Don't get me wrong. I love cell phones for a lot of reasons. Safety alone make them pretty fantastic. Like with getting lost or needing help if something goes wrong. At the same time, I'm tired of living in a world where I am expected to be reachable at any time, and if I'm not, people can get upset or feel offended. I promise that's not my intent. I'll get back to you, but I also sometimes just want to be doing my thing without distractions or obligations. The world before cell phones had a different pace that I kind of miss. There wasn't this expectation of immediacy in communication which nowadays creates anxiety. There's something to be said about how technology and our desire for instant gratification have amplified our anxiety as people. Sometimes it's nice to unplug. Ironically, it's because I often try to be thoughtful in my responses. Sometimes I will read a message and I won't have the will or time to give it the thought or depth that it requires, so I'll put it off to when I can really think about it. Oftentimes it slips my mind because my working memory is kind of trash. Yeah, this resonated with me. I've often felt that I don't have presence to engage in this conversation right now. It's a relatively, very, new phenomenon that basically anyone in your life gets access to you at all times. It was only 20 years ago that if you left the house for the day you were actually gone. You'd return messages when you came back hours or even days later. Basically, I prefer this sometimes. I'm on this train. It's actually a recent devolution for me. I recently went to Egypt for 2 weeks. While I was there, I literally had no internet. Taking those 2 weeks really made me realize how much better I felt just reply when I could rather than instantly. I also realized this with some people I work with. They'd text me during non-working hours about work. I'd just reply during working times. So text me at 6 PM on a Friday, I'd reply at 9 AM Monday. I reply to them in my brain and forget to reply them in real life. Deleted. It's usually because I read the message while I'm doing something that I can't reply in that moment, and then I'll literally just forget. Ah yes, the infamous I'll respond later followed by a swift entrance into the abyss of forgetfulness. IDK, it's like I just can't. It feels overwhelming. So instead, I like to consistently go through a cycle of forgetting to respond and then chastising myself for not replying. So I decide I'll do it later, but then I forget. It's just on and on and on until I finally do, and it's always, hey. Sorry for just responding. Fill in blank here. P.S. Thanks for the reminder. I just texted my friend who texted me back on Tuesday. This was the push I needed. Whoa. So crazy to read about so many like-minded people. It's a fucking relief for me kinda, lol. My depression is mostly the reason for this behavior, I think at least. Executive dysfunction. When I finally found out I had ADHD a couple years ago and told my friends and family, a lot of them just replied with "oh yeah, that does make sense," and brought up how often I forget to reply to messages until days later, when I would pick up the conversation as if days had not passed. It was legitimately one of the factors I thought of when I was trying to figure out if I had ADHD or not, lol. Sometimes I just don't have the energy for it. I recharge and relax by being alone and doing things that take very little effort. I'm also not on my phone a lot. I'm a university student taking full units, while working simultaneously. I spend all day trying to craft the most perfect response ever and I procrastinate it as if I'm dealing with a school assignment or something. Me too, I overthink, then don't do it all. I'm an introvert and it actually takes a lot of energy for me to respond to people. I much prefer talking in person to someone, but for some reason messaging drains me. It's nothing against the person I haven't responded to, and I usually tell my friends it's the way I am and they understand. So unless it's urgent, it could take me a couple of days to respond until I have the energy. For me, as an introvert and someone with social anxiety, it drains my battery cause I try to put in care to make sure something I say in text won't come off the wrong way, since I can't convey tone. And as someone who uses a lot of sarcasm, hyperbole in their speech, I can't use that same thing in text, which makes responding through it harder. But in person those aren't problems, so it makes responding easier and less draining. Just because technology has gotten to the point where you can reach someone instantly does not mean that person has a responsibility to instantly respond. Edit, because I don't want to. Yeah, sometimes having a phone these days feels like giving 100 people a string tied to you that they can tug on at any time for any reason to demand a response from you. Because honestly, texting feels exhausting sometimes. Have you ever thought how before cell phones, people caught up maybe once or twice a week? I don't think it's natural to text all day every day. I miss that time. My bio mom went TDY to Korea in the 80s and I couldn't talk to her for a whole month. More dart. Grandma called on Sunday. People went out of town. There's not enough room in between our interactions anymore. Emo. Generally, a message is an opening to a conversation I don't have energy for right now. Even if it's a simple question, I'd rather come back to you in a day or so when I have time for you and our conversation than just running through a chat for some reason. And sometimes I just CBA. I get overwhelmed easily and keep postponing to reply until I feel like it. By then it's too late to reply, and I fear I come off right or that the mood of the convo was already gone and I would make things awkward. So I postpone it until I can handle that awkwardness. By then it's too late too. My question would be, why do people feel I need to respond as soon as I get it? I genuinely don't have my phone on me 90% of the time. My wife and kids are more valuable than responding to text. I don't mean that in a mean way. I'm depressed and don't want to be in contact with people who I don't talk to on a regular basis, so replying to other people or requests is not as easy. Even those I am in contact with. Every interaction is a risk of bad news or guilt, anxiety, and no chance of good news or positivity. I just want to protect myself and limit the damage. Let me think about it. I'll get back to you in a couple of days. Because I have more than enough going on, and my cup is overfilling. I need to recharge. I don't have the mental capacity to reply right now. I'm having a stressful day. I'm trying to meet a deadline. I'm upset over something, etc., and my brain is too busy and muddled to reply. Sometimes I'm also just drained and don't have the energy, even if it's just something simple, like responding to a meme. I'm drained and my brain is mush, I can't muster up the energy. If I don't reply for a while, it typically means I'm somewhere in my feels. Because I don't want to. Also, not everything needs a reply. I'm 35, and after 30, you and your friends realize that you can go for probably 6 months without seeing each other and it doesn't matter at all. I respond immediately in urgent matters, of course. And my friends know and accept that I might take a while to respond, simply because sometimes A, I respond in my head and forget to actually type it out, or B, I'm busy or don't feel like talking at the time. Yeah, these kind of questions must come from teenagers or people who don't have much going on in their lives. I won't text someone back because I'm at work, I'm driving, I'm on a bike ride. My kids are peppering me with why questions or demanding horsey rides or snacks or asking me to wipe their bums. Or my hands are wet cause I'm washing dishes. Or I'm watching a fun TV show in the 30 minutes a day I get to sit down and disengage. Or I'm asleep. You know, those reasons. Y'all missed a golden chance. Should have left it at 0 comments and then comment replies start in a few days. You telling people who can't remember to text back to remember a post a few days from now. People who expect immediate replies simply because they have your mobile number and can text you whenever they feel like it. Why? Literally the worst. I've talked on dating apps to people who will unmatch or triple message me if I don't respond within an hour or two. Like? So low on my priority list. Mainly depression. Having to make decisions, even small ones when I'm depressed, is incredibly hard. Most text messages are to ask things, so they tend to go unanswered. I'm not on demand. Because I'm not on your timeline. Hop off me. ADHD. I will see an email or a message and think to myself that's important. I need to reply to that, then get distracted and forget it ever happened. Days might be a bit extreme for messages, but definitely hours can go past before I even realize what I've done. And emails will definitely go unanswered for days. Same. But I realized I did not respond 10 days later and feel like I can't now. Replying to text messages stresses me the fuck out because I can never think of what to say or how to say it correctly, and when I do, they send another text and the cycle repeats. I have a how's it going text from an aunt that I've yet to reply to in months because I haven't thought of an adequate response.